Good day and welcome to Common Sense with Tom Schmitz. On today's show, my guest will be the mayor of the city of Ocala, Guinn. I'll talk to Kent about the Coastal Connector. It's got a lot of people up in arms around our area. We'll see where the mayor, where he's at with this. He's a lifelong resident of the area. And we'll talk about how it affects the city of Ocala. I'll also ask the mayor about the recent change of heart from the city manager, John Zobler, plus much more. But first, in case you missed it. In case you missed it, it's brought to you by the Riley Arts Center, the premier performing arts center in our area with concert, dance events, and comedy events. The Riley has something for everyone. Don't miss Disney's Frozen Sing-Along. June 22nd, cool off for the summer by reliving the magic of Disney's animated hit, Frozen, in a sing-along event the whole family can enjoy. Watch your beloved movie played out on the large screen and sing along to all the movie's most popular songs, yes, including Let It Go. On-screen lyrics make it easy for the whole family to join in on the fun. For more information on this show or any upcoming event at the Riley, go to RileyArtCenter.com for an up-to-the-moment calendar of events. A Summerfield man who a woman told sheriff's deputies used a rusty blade to carve letters on her arm was taken into custody and charged with aggravated battery, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and kidnapping. William Ames was arrested at his residence on Southeast 102nd Avenue Road, was transported back to the Marion County Jail on Wednesday. The 35-year-old victim told deputies she drove to Ames' home and he got her into her vehicle through the driver's side door, grabbed her arm. She said he had a rusty blade and carved the letters P-I and half of the letter E on her arm. She managed to pull away from him. He pulled out a handgun, pointed in her face, and threatened to kill her. The woman said she managed to get away from Ames and drove to the Circle K on US 441 and called 911. Deputy found Ames, arrested him. Jail records show he's being held without bail. His next court appearance is July 17th. That was In Case You Missed It, brought to you by the Riley Arts Center. Find them on the web at RileyArtsCenter.com. And I'd like to welcome to the show, been a while since he's been here, but I'm glad he took time out to join us, Mayor Kent Guinn from the city of Ocala. Mayor, good afternoon to you.
Good to see you again.
The mayor, as always, is dressed as a mayor should, and I'm in a Florida shirt. Not because I underdressed, it's because I'm showing homage to the only baseball team left in the College World Series from the state of Florida, the #1 ranked Florida Gators. Now, the mayor is not a Florida Gator fan per se. He is a fan of the state of Florida, though, and I know that he doesn't show any ill will towards the Gators as long as they're not playing the beloved Florida State Seminoles,
exactly.
Correct, Mr. Mayor?
That's exactly right.
Before we even get started with all that, I mean, is it time for Mike Martin to go? You're a Florida State fan. Come on.
I don't know.
I got my good friend, one of my good friends, Paul Youngkin. Every time Florida State loses in the playoffs, he goes, "Man's 137 years old. Why is he still there?"
That's right. I thought about that though the other day. Now that you mentioned that,
he is 137 years old.
A long time.
He's been there since the early 70s.
Wow.
Bobby's gone. It's about time Mike might have to go too. Okay. But hey, at least Florida State still wins a lot more baseball games than they lose.
That's true.
That is true. And your girls' softball team is national champions.
National champions. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, I saw a letter to the editor the other day complaining about that Star Banner didn't give them any coverage, for the national championship.
Well, I know 20 years ago, softball, you either had to be from California or Arizona to win a national championship. Now, all of a sudden, Florida's the hotbed of softball.
Oh, absolutely.
Florida won the national championship. Now Florida State's won the national championship. Congratulations to the Lady Seminoles of the Florida State softball team.
Well, a lot of great high school girls softball, in this area.
Denellen had an amazing team for a very long time.
And went on to Florida. I can't remember the girls' names, but
right.
I think two sisters.
Yeah, two sisters.
Yeah.
And then one of them transferred to Auburn or something. I forget what it was. But
yeah.
So let's talk for a minute about the road.
Okay.
Everybody's up in arms about the Coastal Connector. I went to a workshop 3 Fridays ago or 4 Fridays ago where you spoke.
Right.
They have originally asked you if you wanted a seat. You said, "No, I'm good." The mayor, by the way, was standing on one of the side walls in the county commission's chamber where they hold commission meetings. Commissioner Bryant, who is the chairperson of the county commission, stopped the proceedings to ask the mayor if he would like to sit down. And you said, "No, I'm good."
Actually, she invited me to sit up there with them.
Sit up there
that
with
was
them
pretty
on
amazing.
stage.
Yeah.
She's like the city manager or something, or the county manager. Or
the somebody wasn't there.
One of the
She
people,
said,
you can come up on stage and sit.
Yeah.
You go, no, I'm good. I'm good.
because I had to leave, so I didn't want to go up there. But
you spoke
nice.
passionately. I believe you said, if I may be paraphrasing or what you said, it's a good thing you're saying it's just getting started because now let's just stop it.
That's a great time to stop.
It's a great time to stop. But you got upstaged a little bit by the Denellen mayor. Now, I've never seen. I've never met the Denellen mayor. I've got a call into him. I'd like to have him on the show.
Yeah.
But you had said your piece, and the Denellen mayor got up there, and he had the entire room eaten out of his hand.
Oh yeah, he's a good speaker.
Very jovial man.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor Guinn.
Mayor Guinn.
Very jovial man, and he made a very good point that you want to build this connector. Nobody uses 19, just make 19 the connector.
Right.
Where do you stand? Because the people that weren't at the workshop, first is Kent Guinn, the citizen of Marion County and Ocala.
Right.
Where do you stand on the coastal connector and its 5 routes that want to dissect some very beautiful land
Right.
through northwest Marion County?
Well, I think it's a terrible idea. Well, two things. I drive down to Tampa frequently, and also drive, the airport there in Orlando. We were on the turnpike just the other day, and I was driving through on the turnpike and thinking about how terrible this would be with this turnpike, coming through, horse country. And then I look at 75 and see all the construction, the work that's being done on that, and I've got that I-75 corridor study on my desk. I haven't gone through it and read it yet. I'll read it here shortly, but do the same thing that they're doing on 75 heading south. Do that heading north. Expand it. Widen it. If that's the issue of getting more cars on the road, you drive up to 10, you get on 10, you go to Jacksonville. It's not that big a deal. I know they want to just have something that kind of cuts the corner there and gets 10 out of the equation and gets to Jacksonville, but
under that same vein, we have that already. And if you want to make it better, expand 301. Make 301 3-lane each way. And
Right.
by the way, some people say, I've heard this argument. Well, you can't do that because you still got to go through Stark. 19 used to be a horrible road. I'm going to tell people 4119 used to be a horrible road. I'd go to Valspar Open.
Right.
Which, before that, it was the Tampa Bay Open, it was
Right.
but I go to Valspar Open at Innisbrook every
Right.
year. It used to be you had to come down 75, get on 54, cut across 54 to 1941, take 1941 down. There was a stoplight every 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
Right.
They built flyovers.
Right.
Now you get on 19, and then it takes you no time to get there.
Right.
They could build flyovers through Stark, or they could build a bypass around. There's another idea. You can build a bypass that goes around Stark, 301, alternate 301,
Right.
like they do alternate 27.
Right, exactly.
You could build 301 3-lane on each side, bump the speed limit from 65 to 70, or keep it at 65. And 301 would be a great connector because that's the most direct route from Jacksonville. Get off 75 on 326 to 441, 301, and go to Jacksonville.
There you go.
I grew up in Jacksonville.
Right.
I still have family in Jacksonville. When I go to Jacksonville, I don't go 75 to 10.
Right,
I go 441, 301 split, and 301 to Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, get to
If
10.
you want to join Tampa and Jacksonville, that's the easiest way to do
Right.
it. Expand the existing roadway, whether it be 75, 10, or 301.
Well, sometimes I've only done it about 2 or 3 times, but getting from Tampa to Miami without having to drive all the way down to Naples across Alligator Alley, and then, that's terrible.
It's horrible. Because to go through Sebring and all, cutting across that way, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but here's the thing on my take on the coastal connector. I think it's a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. It would destroy what we know as the horse capital of the world. There are no good routes that go through Marion County. One of the other things that always amazes me about DOT and some of the things they do, we get along and we work well together, play in the sandbox well together. But a lot of the things that they have no understanding of the local businesses and the impact that they have when they draw a line somewhere and say that this is going to go there. We're going to put a median down a road, how that affects business. One time they wanted to put a median, get rid of the suicide lanes on 200, pretty much from Pine out to 75. Businesses were up in arms, and we stopped it. They wanted to do it on 17th Street at one time. Some of it they did up around 18th Avenue, 22nd, but they basically wanted to do that all the way to Pine Street and down some of the other areas all the way back to 200, and we stopped it. But that's the thing that always amazes me, is how they have no understanding of the effect that they have on businesses. One of the things I heard a realtor say the other day, and she's right on target, in the Coastal Connector, I mean, it hasn't even been done yet, but to say, oh, this is a beautiful horse farm. Oh, really, I like it. Well, full disclosure, there might be a turnpike going through here. Well, what do you think the people that are looking at the farm are going to say? Oh, well, I'm not interested in that.
I'm not interested in buying that. Why would you be?
Why, well, we're not sure it's going to go through there. Yeah, but it might. And, that's the problem. When they just talk about it, not even if they put lines on a map, but they talk about that it could go through there.
And let's talk about that. You brought it up, the lines on the map.
Right.
I was at the workshop, and a young man from Jacksonville, he's from Jacksonville, from the, I forget the agency, the company was in, but they're the ones that are doing the work, the study for the DOT.
Right.
He goes, folks, we just drew lines on a map. It's a starting point. No, it's not. It's people's livelihood and their property that you drew those lines through. To actually be to me, I was more angry about, folks, it's just lines on a map. No, it's not. It's lines through horse country.
Right.
It's lines through people's livelihoods.
Right, exactly. I read a letter that Jessica Steinbrenner wrote the other day to DOT and the governor and lots of other people. I got a copy of it. And she was very, very stern and about that, and said it would just destroy Kinsman Farm.
Well, now
go right through the middle of it.
Now, Bobby Roscoe, you heard of this guy?
Bobby Roscoe?
Yeah. He's been threatening for years to sue the state to prevent the Suncoast Parkway expansion. Well, he represents Etna Turpentine Camp, which is directly in the path of the road.
Right.
Well, on Monday, he acted on his threat, and he filed a federal lawsuit in U.S. District Court in Ocala against the U.S. Department of Interior, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the DOT, saying that they're going to destroy Etna's, the Etna Turpentine Camp. Is it going to come to that in our area, or do you think that somebody's going to say, this isn't a good idea?
Well, I hope it comes to somebody says it's not a good idea. I mean, lawsuits are never good, but, if they have to do it, people are going to do it, just like this gentleman. But no, the governor needs to just say, this is not going to happen. This is over with. It's not coming through Marion County, and they need to find another route and find another way. That's what needs to happen.
Because you're a lifelong resident, a lot of people that live around here know, but it's something that's not talked about a whole lot. But there's a lot of powerful people with a lot of powerful influence that live right here in little old Ocala and Marion County. I love when people say, you're from little old Ocala, that's a nice little place. And I think, you because you're not from here, because you don't live here, you say little Ocala. You don't know how much power and prominence there are with people that live in Marion County.
Sure.
They go, oh, we know Travolta. No. John Travolta, I'm glad he lives here. It's great for our community.
Guy.
He's a great guy. His wife, Kelly's great. It's great for our community. But I mean people of power and influence, money-wise, that you may not even know live here unless you're from this area and stuff. They're not going, if it gets to that kind of fight, it's going to be a long, ugly fight. The state's going to have to endure.
Well, and that was the point that Jessica Steinbrenner made.
Yeah, she did. And that's just her.
Yeah.
She didn't, we're not going to tick everybody off, but tick all the people off that we're talking about. But there are lots of powerful influence.
Sure.
That this road, by the way, is going right through their farms.
Right.
That's what gets me. Is if you were the DOT and you were going to put lines on a map, I would have checked the tax roll and said, maybe that's not the area of the county to go through.
Well, and I don't think, like I said before, I don't think they looked at the impact of, the businesses that they were going to affect. It's almost like they took a ruler from, here to Jacksonville, and they just did that with no idea of what that line meant and what that line went through.
Why don't you go tell the federal government, we don't want to go through horse country now. We want to go through the Ocala National Forest. See how quick they...
Hey, we had to, talking about on TPO, back when it was called TPO, we were looking at 4-laning from, or expanding, I think it was, from Silver Springs to 314A.
Into Lynn. Four-laning 40, just from Silver Springs to Lynn.
4-year environmental study in 20 years to build the road.
And that's just from Silver Springs to Lynn, and that's what, 8 miles, 10 miles?
7 miles.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
that didn't happen.
No.
And it ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. 40 is always going to be 2 lanes with passing lanes in the next 2.5 miles.
Right. I went over to Daytona not too awfully long ago, and I went, are you serious? This is unbelievable.
The International Boulevard Speedway is ridiculous. Yeah, when you come out of the forest on the 40 right there before you get to Ormond Beach to the interstate, how it just balloons into this nice, huge roadway.
Yeah, but going through Barberville and all these little places.
Forget it. And
2 lanes.
It always seems you only get behind a slow car on that road right after you come out of a passing area.
Well, as I've gotten older, I find that I don't pass people much anymore.
Well,
because I drive a lot slower.
I use those passing lanes
right
as a way to see if my horsepower is better than the person in the right lane.
Well, you better be careful because some people,
I
think that you're wanting to race them.
40 is a very aggravating road between the bridge at Ocala and where it goes 4-lane just west of Ormond Beach.
Right.
It's very, very aggravating to me.
It is.
But it's the only way to get to Daytona.
It is.
It's the only way to get there.
It's a dangerous road, too.
Oh, it's a terribly dangerous road.
That was our point.
It's a terribly dangerous road. But to what we're talking about with a parkway and everything, Coastal Park, and don't get me wrong, I use the Suncoast Parkway.
Right.
If you don't use the Suncoast Parkway, and if you ever fly out of Tampa International Airport and you don't use the Suncoast Parkway, you're going the wrong way.
Right.
Because 75, 275 through Del Mabry and everything to get to 60 in the airport, no.
Yeah.
Brooks 50 into Brooksville on the Suncoast Parkway, it dumps you out in the parking lot of the airport.
Right.
Okay. I understand the need for these kind of roads.
Right.
But there's a lot of property that doesn't have to come through millions and millions and millions of dollars and years and years and years of legacy.
Right.
In Marion County.
Well, look what 75 did back in the day, to Ocala. I mean, 301 was, went through the middle of town, and when 75 opened.
There are a lot of hotels. There are a lot of motels on 301.
Ghost town.
There are a lot of motels on 301s that are no longer there anymore.
Of course.
Or that have become, how should we say, just motels where the less than desirables live on a weekly and monthly basis.
Right.
Because that's how they have to make ends meet.
Or drive up to North Carolina on 301, look at the ghost towns.
Ghost towns.
Yeah.
Ghost towns. You can drive up 301 through South Georgia and everything.
Right.
Through Ludwig, Nahunta,
right. All
Glenville,
South Carolina.
Statesboro, all up there. They're little bitty, they're buildings that are standing there with weeds growing up and everything that used to be fine Howard. I know people say fine Howard Johnson. Howard Johnson used to be one of the best motel chains in the country.
Right.
Fine Holiday Inns. People forget, because you're from here, but the average person, unless you were raised here, doesn't remember, there used to be a fine Holiday Inn that's now the Days Inn, that it would point the arrow to the Holiday Inn, and I always thought, shouldn't they be pointing across the street to Silver Springs? That's why everybody's coming here.
That's right.
Not realizing, as a little kid, that arrow was pointing to the Holiday Inn because it's the Holiday Inn.
That's right.
But it sat right across from Silver Springs. That's where we stayed all the time.
And Mr. Foster did a great job Mayor Foster did a great job of taking care of that hotel.
Fantastic. Yeah. My family would drive from Jacksonville every year in the middle of July to come down to Silver Springs and Six Gun territory.
I was in Boston last week, and I said something about Ocala. He went, Silver Springs.
Of course.
Yeah. I said, that's where we are.
That's a whole different show we can do on
Yeah,
Silver Springs. Let's talk for a minute about city manager John Zobler, who took over when the last city manager was let go.
Right.
Came out of retirement, I believe, to take the job.
Right.
Said he wanted to retire again. And then 2 or 3 weeks later said, maybe I did that a little hastily. And now, can I get the retirement letter back? I'd like to continue to finish seeing projects done.
Sure.
What was your thoughts when you saw that he wanted to retire? And then what were your thoughts once he said, I think I still got some projects I want to continue?
Well, I would embarrassed to say that sometimes every once in a while, we probably all do, read emails while we're driving.
Right.
So that's when I read his email. I was on 200 and I went, what? And so I had a meeting with him the next morning, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I saw the email that you sent out, and, what's going on? And he said, there's never a really good time to retire. There'll always be 10 or 15 projects, that we're working on at any given time. And, so, I'm going to retire. And, I told council one night when we were talking about this, I said, look, this is going to be a very, we were talking about hiring a consultant to find someone. And I said, this is going to be a very painful process, but, somehow we're going to, have to get through it. And I told you a while ago, John is my 5th city manager. When I came to the city, Susan Miller had been on board for about 6 months. Then we had Paul, for a good bit of time. And then we had, Rick Horst.
Right.
And then we had Matt Brower. And then now, John. John and I worked together when I was a councilman. We negotiated our solid waste program with, at the time, I can't remember who they were at the time, Viola, and did a lot of work, spent about a year with him working on that contract. So I like John. John's a great guy, does a great job, fun to work on projects with. He gets things done. Constituent calls and says, hey, I need this, that. I just send him an email and say, hey, John, I had a constituent call, and they've got this problem, that problem, and you don't need to think about it anymore. It's just done.
What I like about Mr. Zobler is I'm in the media. I've been doing this now, going on with Buddy Martin at Voice of Ocala. Thanks to Buddy for getting me started in this, and now on this project that I'm doing. I've been in the media and around the politics of this community going on 8 years now.
Right.
Never met John Zobler. Couldn't pick him out of a crowd if he was the only people in the crowd.
Really?
But I know he does a great job. And to me, a city manager is a lot like a good referee or an umpire.
Right.
If they do a good job, you don't know they're there.
Right. Exactly.
Like I knew the last city manager, and I'm not going to say that the mayor say anything. I have my own opinions about whether the last city manager did a good job or not. But that's not for this discussion.
Right.
But I don't know this city manager, never met the man, couldn't pick him out of a crowd if he was the only people in the crowd.
Really?
But things are getting done.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And that means, to me, he's a good city manager.
Well, something he told me the other day, he said, we were talking about what type of person we should get if we, ended up getting someone. Now we're not, but, he said, I'm a risk taker. He said, I've taken some risks, calculated risks, but we've done a lot of things that, to push the city forward, and they've worked out, which is good. I would not want someone that never takes a risk, that never, thinks about, doing something, that's, progressive. Building that parking garage, you realize that we talked about that
50 years.
60 years. Someone told me, Chip Rich, they did a little research. He said, actually, they were talking about that for 60 years.
And I park in anytime I'm downtown. That's where I park.
Right.
It's free. I don't have to deal with the meters or anything, any of that. People, and it's a good 2-block walk to anything.
Right.
So you get some walk, you get some steps in and everything. Guy like me needs to lose a little weight, so the parking garage is a great thing for me.
Oh, sure.
And it's going to help the hotel. And people don't realize it had to be built, or there would be no hotel that's now being built.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and we did the kind of a grand reopening for the customer service center, next door here, and I was telling them about. I just got on council when that was being constructed, and was on council obviously when it was finished, and we, opened it up. But that building was completely underutilized. I mean, there were maybe 4 people upstairs in the top when it opened. Had 3,000 square feet that were probably just empty, wasn't even being used. So when Rick Horst was here, we were trying to get the chamber to move off of their site into a permanent home for them. And Rick said, well, why do we have that, where the CEP is now, why do we have that building over there and we've got this one sitting empty with the customer service office? We took everybody from that one, moved them over there. That building was empty, which caused the chamber to move into that building, which freed that property up. Now the hotel can happen. But I mean, those are things that we talk about, like taking risk or being progressive. Progressive sometimes gets a bad rap, but I'm not talking about.
You didn't say liberal. You said
liberal socialism. I'm talking about just progressing the city, moving it forward.
Well, speaking of progression, I'm noticing around town, there's a lot of fence being put up, a lot of construction signs going up, and a lot of large, not your normal basic convenience stores, but large, centered around food preparation, gas, grocery store type. There's Wawas and Circle K's and racetracks going up all over.
Right.
This has got to be great for our economy.
Well, I think it is. When Wawa took a break for a while, and then they were starting back up, and I thought, okay, well, I said that was a pretty quick break. But it looks like now, unless they change their mind, they're talking about getting these projects completed in the first quarter of 19. I pray that that's not, the case.
Well, I live close to the one that's going in at 36 and 40.
Wawa.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 36 and 40.
Right.
That's a Wawa going in.
Right.
I live close to that one. And as a guy who, everybody knows I'm a Disney fanatic, and I go to Orlando quite a bit.
Right.
And Wawa is something that I deal with on a regular basis. I can't wait.
Oh, me either.
Because you can get everything in Wawa. And it's good food and everything.
Right.
And I know some restaurateurs are going, but it's a different type thing than it's food on the go, like that you can come in and grab something real quick.
I think you can even sit in there and eat, right?
You can.
Yeah.
Like the racetrack, they're building stage like the racetrack out near Dillard's and everything. That's a fantastic store.
Right.
Fantastic. They got a racetrack like that they opened not long ago at the corner of 484 and what's the little 475A, I believe it is.
Yeah.
475A, yeah. There's one there out in the Bellevue area. So these things look great. Looks like the city and the county is prospering. We just don't need another road built.
Well, and I don't know what's going on with the one at Pine and 40. I mean, the one that Brad
they're
Dinkins
clearing
has.
land, with Pine and 40. The one that was the bail bond's been placed most recently.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it says sold on there, but I don't know what their timeline is on actually, starting construction.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, now that we're talking about all this progress and everything. We ever going to try to progress back with single A baseball?
I was in Boston last week and was at Fenway Park, and remembering the days when the Red Sox were at Garrick Field, but we were looking at the scoreboard, and they literally inside that wall they actually
people are in there.
Yeah, there's 2 guys in there. I was talking to a guy that was a security guard. He goes, he said, I've worked here for 3 years. I've only been in there once. He said we had a family day, employee day not long ago, and some people got to go in there, but that's like a real honor.
It is.
To be able to go in there. I said, well, how do they know what's going on and everything? He said, well, they've got TV. They're watching the game, inside there. But there's 2 guys. They just run around. They're changing the score.
And they fix the whole scoreboard for all the other teams' games that are going on and everything.
Yes.
They got. I have a friend of mine that worked on the grounds crew at Fenway Park when he was in his 20s and early 30s, and now he's a golf course maintenance manager over in South Carolina. But he said that it's like They got the rolling ladders in there like they got at libraries, and they scale up them things. And he said those two guys are constantly moving the whole game.
Well, and he said, I asked him, I said, well, do you have a real scoreboard? He goes, yeah. He said, we have a jumbotron over there down first baseline.
But nobody looks at that.
No.
Everybody looks at the green monster.
Yeah.
That's where everybody looks.
Yeah.
But you still didn't answer my question. Are we ever going to revisit 1A?
Yes. Yes.
Because I'm tired of going and watching the Daytona Tortugas. Nothing against the Daytona Tortugas. I think it's a stupid name change, but that's just me. I'm tired of going to watch the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. It's the Jacksonville Suns, but anyway. I'm tired of that when we could have an affiliate of a Major League Baseball team right here. And I tell you what else I'm tired of. Every time I go into Gainesville, I see the Bass Pro Shop. I get mad. I get fire ant mad.
I told my former opponent, I won't even say her name, but that was under her watch. I know that we had a letter of intent with Bass Pro Shop to move here, and they were going to move here even before the Yankees were going to come. But when they found out the Yankees weren't going to come, then they said goodbye, Ocala, hello, Celebration Point in Gainesville. But no, I mean, I've had that conversation with the Yankees, since that happened, and they're still talking. I talked to Mayor Buckhorn and Mayor Kreisman from St. Pete and Tampa regularly. I saw them last week and talked about the Rays moving to Tampa. I think that's going to happen, and that would allow the single A team
to move out.
Yeah.
Just baseball was such an integral part of this community for a very long time.
It was.
Spring training with the Red Sox. I mean, Buddy Martin wore a dress one time pitching to Ted Williams at Garrick Field.
Wow.
I don't know what's more stranger, Buddy Martin pitching to Ted Williams or Buddy Martin in a dress. But they're both equally kind of strange.
Exactly.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it looks like we're doing great things, and it looks like you're solidly behind stopping this coastal connector.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in.
All right. Thank you, as always.
Mayor Kent Guinn, the mayor of the city of Ocala. And now to this day in history. This day in history brought to you by the Ocala Golf Club, the municipal golf club in our area that gives you great, great golf. You can call them for a tee time at 352-401-6917. They're located at 3130 East Silver Springs Boulevard, right across from the new Carmichael's restaurant on Silver Springs Boulevard. I was in there talking to Jason Linhart, the general manager for the Ocala Golf Club, because it's ran by Billy Casper Golf. And I was saying, Jason, Muni's in great shape. He goes, why do you continue to call it Muni? It's Ocala Golf Club. I said, Jason, no matter what y'all try to rename it, it's always going to be Muni. It's the Muni course. It's a great course. It is in impeccable shape right now. If you want country club style golf at municipal prices, Ocala Golf Club is the place for you. On this day in history, June 14th, people wonder, how do we end up with the flag we ended up with? Well, I'll tell you, June 14th of 1777, the U.S. Continental Congress adopted the Stars and Stripes flag designed by Francis Hopkinson, replacing the Grand Union flag, which looked a lot like the Union Jack flag that Britain was using. That happened on June 14, 1777. The U.S. Continental Congress adopts the Stars and Stripes flag designed by Francis Hopkinson. I'd like to thank Mayor Kent Guinn for stopping by and having a chat with us today, and for Joe Rothenberger and Charlie, his intern, who she does all the work and Joe takes all the credit. But they both make me look and sound a whole lot better than I deserve. For all of them behind the scenes and for the mayor, I'm Tom Schmitz. Have a great afternoon, everyone.